Hi. So I wanted to talk about this list of things that I need and that I think most of us feel that we need or might need, or perhaps we've forgotten these things because we've been pursuing other things that we think are going to make us happy, but which actually don't, and which without these things that I'm about to talk about, at least for me, many of us maybe don't feel so great right now. And I'm not talking about the news and all the other stuff, but I made this list. And so I'm going to go down this list, and then at the end I'm going to talk just a bit about my new Substack page where I'm writing a long form essay. I just put up the first part. By the way, I'm getting over another cold. I had a sore throat Friday night into Saturday morning throughout the day, and then started getting a bit better last night. My voice is a bit, weak. I may start blowing my nose again. I've had constant sinus problems, a series of sinus infections, and I think I have another one right now because it's pretty bad, and asthma, and just over and over, I don't feel well. So obviously, if I were having my needs met, and we'll talk about what I mean there, and feeling happy, content, and okay with my life here, I wouldn't be sitting here doing this video, getting over a cold, sitting here alone in my room doing this thing. And you, whoever you are, the viewer, watching this, I'm assuming you would have better things to do than watching videos on YouTube about some guy in Tokyo who lives alone and he's telling you what you need to be happy. So I'm assuming that you're not having the things on this list so much either, perhaps, but let's give it a go and see. Everyone's different. Maybe you can check some of these off, and some of the things that I myself couldn't check off the list for myself. First one, very simple. They're all kind of very simple. I mean, good conversation. That means talking to people face to face, not texting, and preferably face to face, although second best would be talking on a video platform like Zoom, or even talking on the phone kind of thing. But the best would be face to face, but certainly not texting. I don't mean when I say this. Good conversation. And then I put in parentheses, I actually altered the list, or modified from what I had written, intellectual stimulation, which I had as a separate point originally. Maybe the two are not the same, but for me, good conversation is often, if not always, intellectually stimulating in some sense. In other words, it's not just chit-chatting about the weather or about, some product or some movie. That's fine. But real good conversation goes deeper for me than that. And so it would have some intellectually stimulating aspect to it, which isn't to say that every single conversation needs to be bad or needs to be serious. And actually, I'll go quickly. My next point, or 2 points. The next point was smiling, and I added laughter to that. So making jokes and, kidding around, joking around on the level and, mutually, right? Because if you make jokes and laugh and the other person doesn't, or if the other person's making a joke, you don't get it, then that's not what I'm talking about here, but like where you're connecting and you're making jokes and you're smiling and laughing genuinely, or people just genuinely smiling because they're happy, because that's like contagious. Okay. I live in Tokyo, by the way, so when we get to the end of this, I'll talk about whether these needs are being met or not in my case in Tokyo. From my perspective, humor is then, like I say, goes along smiling and laughing, right? So joking around on the level. I love, dark humor, dark sense of humor, or sarcasm, or, on the level, joking around. Never any hard feelings, just enjoying that repartee, and that can also be intellectually stimulating, right? Sincerity. What does that mean? Makoto ni arigatou gozaimasu. I got a motorcycle, nice loud motorcycle in the background. That's cool. And I wrote in parentheses here, I kind of modified from the original, genuine emotion or sincerity. That's what I'm defining it in a way. Genuine emotion is people being sincere, not because they say they're sincere, they give you that fake smile and they're kind to you and you say, oh, that person's been nice to me. That's great. And that's important too. But a genuine emotion, a genuine, like a sincere person who genuinely, and I mean, of course it goes both ways, but I mean, we're talking here about, right? You can output all these things, by the way, and you don't need to receive them all the time, but if there's no give and take any time, unless you're a saint or a bodhisattva, which is like a compassionate Buddha, and you are at that level in your maturity, your emotional maturity, your spiritual development, then maybe you don't need any of these things. You can just output all of them. But for most of us, I think it's nice to have people who are sincere and have genuine emotional responses rather than like say an AI that compliments you and is totally just flattering you, and it's all bullshit because the AI doesn't care about you, and many people don't care about you, and when their emotion's not genuine, they don't care about you. So sincerity. Next, love, I wrote, and actually that I was hesitant, and I'm still hesitant. I can't even describe that one because that, how to define that. I mean, I haven't gone to say, right, how many of these I have, don't have. I have people in my life from whom I believe, how can I say, I receive the emotion of love, or that love can be found in many things, and it may not even be from a person, really, depending on how philosophical you want to get, right? That love can be an outpouring of a particular emotion toward any living creature. I mean, that goes with compassion and, excuse me, I don't want to get into like Buddhist ideas and things too much in this talk, but like, so what is love? I mean, right, I don't mean just like romantic love, but I mean just feeling loved or having a sense of like, and that goes with genuine, sincere emotion, I think, too, right? You're smiling, you're happy, you have sincere emotion, an outpouring of good feeling. I think that is love, maybe. Okay, so this is kind of what I mean, and it does, a lot of these points connect. They're actually very much connected. Touch, I wrote, because that doesn't mean sex, and that doesn't necessarily mean sexual touch. It doesn't necessarily mean like holding hands with someone either, or those things. It could be that if you have, right, if that's another point, right? Like, I'm not putting on the list that it's a necessity for happiness to have like sex or sexual touch or a girlfriend. In my case, I'm male and I'm heterosexual. Of course, that is a nice thing, and from that, if one has a genuine relationship, then many of these things may come with that package, if you will, with that deal, huh? But if it's not a deal, right, it's a genuine thing, then that's lovely, but it doesn't need to be, is what I'm saying, that. It could just, when I say touch, I mean like, someone like genuinely, again, the genuine, sincere, like giving you a hug or something, or like, if you're, feeling really down, someone touches your hand and it's genuine and it's like the person cares about you in that moment even, right? It's like even could be a stranger. I mean, really, depending on the situation, and if it's sincere, then touch, I think, is necessary for humans. Again, I'll go talk at the end of this about what the culture in Tokyo is and whether these things are usual for me in my daily life. And the last one, this is the last one already, health. And I just mentioned that I'm getting over a cold. I keep getting sick. I keep getting sinus infections. I'm constantly tired. I don't get a good night's sleep. I sometimes crunch my teeth when I sleep, and I don't know why, although it may be because my nose is stuffed up. I've also had neck problems and other kinds of things since coming to Tokyo. Could be just age, but I can stretch and take walks and do everything, and still I've developed these things. So I wouldn't say that I'm in great health. I'm not like, I don't have a life-threatening disease at present, I don't think, or at least, I'm not battling with cancer or anything, but like, I wouldn't call myself in great health in that sense, right? I mean, I wouldn't be getting another cold if I was in great health. So those are my points. Okay, so you can agree, disagree. Let's go down the list very quickly. In my case, Tokyo, intellectually stimulating conversations daily. I teach at university. I teach literature and other courses. I'm outputting that, and my students sometimes say, intelligent things after they've had their discussions. But I wouldn't say that on a daily basis I'm having intellectually stimulating conversations with people. Either, like in my daily life, in my daily interactions, I don't have friends with whom I sit down over coffee or beer or whatever and have such conversations. So the first point, I would say no. Smile, laughter, humor, I'm putting those together. I make jokes sometimes. Sometimes people make jokes with me occasionally and we laugh. But I would say that's not something I get a whole lot of every day. And I make these weird jokes with my students. Sometimes they laugh, sometimes they don't. It's fine. And I kid about how my jokes are silly and not so important. I try to joke around and make people smile because it makes me smile too. But again, like after and outside the classroom especially, I wouldn't say that people in Tokyo are very like smiling and laughing and happy. And in fact, if you on the trains, I don't see anybody smiling ever. Everyone has noses in the phone, and most people have glazed over eyes. So it's pretty much like a drain outside the classroom, especially. In the classroom, the kids are talking with each other, whatever. And during class, we may joke a little or whatever. There may be, I may make a joke and there may be some laughter or something like this a bit. It's not like such a serious thing. And students, I see smiling sometimes. But on the trains and in the streets and generally, unless people are drunk and silly smiling, I don't see a lot of smiles, and there's not a lot of like humorous repartee or any of that in Tokyo. And I speak the language fluently, by the way, Japanese. Sincerity, genuine emotion, well, no, not usually. Again, some people are occasionally, and I may have brief exchanges and people are genuine. Japanese culture is very, especially Tokyo, very flat. Like you don't show emotion and you smile and say a set phrase, and I have to do the same thing, smile, bow, whatever, thank you. It's pretty much not there. Love, going back to sincerity, okay, and I don't have a partner, so also touch. I don't have a partner, I'll repeat that, and Japan is a no-touch culture. You don't hug. Most people don't shake hands. You bow. In business, I guess some people maybe shake hands. I don't shake people's hands here. Most people don't want to shake your hand, and I don't really care to either. The times I have touch in Japan, there are 2 times. One is on the train when I'm crushed between bodies that I don't want to touch. And those people are, like I say, mostly have their noses in their phones and they're not, oh, things are falling. That's great. The second time I get touches when I go to my male osteopath. Is that the word for it? Like a chiropractic kind of thing for my neck and my back. And, and he just does an adjustment on me. That's like, right, his hands are on my neck and my back. That's it. I don't get touch otherwise. So I would say touch is lacking. And health is the last one. I already talked about them constantly. Allergies, sinus problems, asthma, back and neck pain, which is why I'm going to the osteopath, and etc. So I would say from this list, I'm not batting a very good average. And along with that, I'd say that I'm generally pretty miserable in Tokyo, not to mention that the trains are overcrowded and the zombie eyes really drain me and all the whole thing. But that's like another talk about what the social media is doing, what AI is doing, how it's affected my students' ability to do critical thinking, to concentrate on reading. My classes have become much harder to conduct. They used to be a lot more enjoyable overall. I have some good students and some good classes, but I'm also now teaching 15 a week, which is like a lot, and it's 3 a day in different locations, and I'm exhausted, which is why I got a cold, I think. So I would say most of these things I need to be happy on this list, they're not being met. Now I made a list of things that I don't necessarily need to be happy, and let's see how many of these are on my actual list that I do have fulfilled. So at least to some or another extent. Okay, the first is delicious food. I said, like food, we need food and water and drink to survive, but I don't need to have like, like I'm not like a foodie where like eating a certain type of food makes me so happy that I'm just like jumping up and down for joy kind of thing, like I'm looking forward to eating this or that, the other. I have part of my health thing is I have to be very careful what I eat. So I don't need like gourmet food every day. It's nice to have good food. I need to actually watch what I eat. And it's getting harder and harder with all the plastics and preservatives and stuff. That stuff kills me. But I don't need like gourmet food every day kind of thing to be happy. Second, I said lots of money or extra money. Like everyone needs to pay bills, and having a little bit extra so you can eat, for example, healthy food or food that tastes good, or whatever it is, or go to an event, or do something without feeling the squeeze. Obviously, that's necessary, but I don't need like riches. And I live in this little tiny apartment here, and my taxes cost more than my rent. I mean, like one part of my tax costs more than my 1 month of rent. So, but as long as I can get by, right? If I have these other needs met, I would think that I might be a lot happier with those things more than getting more money or more promotion kind of stuff. Next I put on is like praise or flattery. And when I was thinking about this because I make music, for example, and it's nice, like, for example, right, for me to have somebody acknowledge something I've made, a composition or a video or whatever. And some people do say that to me, but like if someone's gonna kind of like, oh, you're so good at this, you're so good at that, and it's like those empty, vacuous kind of, to try to get on your good side, or just to, goes back to that sincerity thing, just saying it, and then later it's like you realize that they were just BSing. I don't need that. That doesn't make me feel good about myself. And my understanding, I never, ever, ever, ever use AI. I've never touched it, but I understand that it flatters people a lot. And that's like, it's like that. And I don't need that. So that's also, I don't need AI. And I don't use AI, by the way, for my writing or for anything, period. I've never asked it a single question. That's not pride. That's not, I'm saying, that's not like, I want you to tell me I'm great, because I don't do that. I do not like AI, and I don't want it because I can use my own brain, and I don't want it thinking for me. And that's why. So, and also because it's drinking water and using up energy and stuff that is just not necessary. So praise, flattery, that's like vacuous. I also added parties, because you could say parties, you could say drinking. I mean, I do drink alcohol sometimes. And it's fine to have like an event with people, and if it's fun, and it's, even if it is like not deep conversation, like once in a while, okay. And I do music events, right? Because music, I didn't even talk about music on this list. Obviously music is something I need, but I'm talking about things apart from the things that I do myself, like reading and that intellectual stimulation from reading or doing music, creativity. Those things are a given. I talk about those things all the time on this page. But parties, I don't need to go to parties to be happy like a lot of people, right? Oh, there's a party this weekend, going to be so much fun. That's not as interesting to me as having sort of one-on-one deeper conversations. And I wrote, and I just originally wrote entertainment, and then I changed it to vacuous entertainment, not because, again, I'm trying to sound superior or smarmy, but like if I just say entertainment, I mean, one could argue that music is entertainment, and I listen to music, and I make music, or film, but it depends what kind of film, right? I mean, certain films are very enriching, or documentaries, and then other things are just kind of vacuous, where like the film is just kind of wasting my time, I feel, or it's just, action adventure kind of thing. Again, it's fine, but for me, it's not necessary to like watch those kinds of films or whatever. So I want to read or watch or spend time in something that I feel I've gotten something from it, something real and emotional. That's also why I don't like AI, because it doesn't give me that feeling at all. It's just vacuous, it's empty, it's a soulless technology. It's not human, and it never will be. So when I say vacuous, I'm trying to describe what I mean. Also, just like, scrolling and, 5-minute clips, or like YouTube too. I can use it. I just saw this long form interview, Ezra Klein interviewing Brian Eno, and I think it was an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I watched the whole thing. I watched it in parts because I was busy, and then I had some time when I was sick yesterday to watch it. And that was really interesting. That wasn't a waste of time. I mean, it was like really interesting to hear them speak. And I knew kind of like, some of the things they spoke about were, they talked about AI and these kinds of things. A lot of the opinions they gave were just, not that they were necessarily new to me or anything like this, but like it was a very intelligent, interesting conversation, and there were things that I learned, and like, you know, it's book suggestions and things like this, very quite interesting. So I don't need entertainment that like is sort of vacuous in this sense, or scroll or whatever. And the last one I wrote, which actually goes back to well, a lot of things like good conversation and love and touch and all the kind of things, like the human interaction thing, is like, I don't need like excessive, say, time off. It kind of goes with the money thing too. Like if I could have all this time off from teaching, say, but then I have nobody to share any of my experiences with, I'm okay being alone. I'm totally like, I've been, you know, kind of a solitary person for X years. And actually more recently, I tried to change that, like force myself to go out and meet people. That's why I did these, like, you know, drumming at the music bar RPM to meet people. You know, it's basically superficial conversation, but you know, it's music and it's fun, and then have some drinks and talk to some people and come home. And I feel a little bit, you know, charged by that, a little bit, recharge my battery before I teach the next day. And after teaching that day, that's during the week. And I went to another one, and then it was like too many people. I probably got a cold there, actually. Now I wish I hadn't gone, but I learned my lesson. I know not to go back to that particular place. It wasn't for me. There's another open mic kind of jazz, not open mic, but a session place, but it was just really, 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 really crowded and madhouse. And I think, you know, people kind of talking to my face. There were a lot of Western foreign students visiting, and like, just, you know, it was just too much. But it's a, you know, being social once in a while is fine, and it's good, and getting out is good and fine. But I was just talking about what having time off but not having anyone to share it with. That was my last point. So what do I mean by that is I'm okay being alone. I'm okay being with people, like once in a while, like going out and doing those things, but not having someone to like share my life with. And when I say that, I don't mean necessarily a partner, again, romantic partner, not necessarily, it could be, but even just like friends or people, you know, like I could have, say I had 2 weeks off, and let's say I had the money to go travel. I could enjoy that too, but you know, like generally it's just like always being sort of here in this apartment kind of thing. You know, I could have time off, and well, yeah, I'd probably make like 10 albums of music or write 2 more essays, and that's great. I like doing that, but there's something lacking, and I think it goes back to the first list of good conversations and all the other stuff. So that's my list. I'm not blowing my nose every 2 seconds. It's amazing. I thought maybe I wouldn't be able to give the talk. I just took a shower and a bath. Maybe that helped a little bit, like temporarily. My nose isn't running. It's totally, I feel it's all stuffed, but my sinuses are completely inflamed. You can probably hear in my voice, but good, because I've been going through boxes of tissues like there's no tomorrow. I'm ready to buy stock, and I'd say Kleenex, but I'm in Japan, so I'm using Element and other brands. Last thing I said I would talk about is the Substacks. I just started writing a long form essay, kind of like the one I did in 2023, if anyone's familiar with this, which I read 2 chapters, I think, on this page. Actually, you can find it, about my band days and about my days with a producer and these kinds of things. And that essay actually goes on beyond that. It talks about COVID too. This one starts in 2019. The first chapter I just posted to my new Substack, which I'll put the address below, and I'll share it. Dealing with the time my contract was coming to an end when I was working full time at university, why I decided to come to Tokyo, what the situation was, and then I'm going to talk about that a bit. And then I plan to, as it goes on, it's already the first chapter I just posted, is around 3,000 words, and it's just the intro kind of thing. I think it's going to be fairly long, and I'll be doing, you know, chapter by chapter. I'll post on Substack as I finish them over the course of weeks or months, maybe. I don't know how long it'll take. But the title is, what was it? Surviving Tokyo, Life, right? The subtitle, anyway, colon or subtitle, Life in a Post-COVID Dystopian World. And actually, I plan to, and if that sounds negative, well, I plan to talk about some of the things, like, for instance, I briefly mentioned about people with the noses and the phones, about how students' levels are dropping, along with the social media and AI, the overcrowded trains, my health here, and other things. When I say dystopian, also, I mean other things going on just around, not just in Tokyo, but I'm surviving Tokyo. I'm living here alone. I also wrote in my bio, I'm an expat for 30 years now, off and on. I did graduate school in the US, but so they're my thoughts, my reflections. I also speak fluent Japanese, but the essay is in English, or will be in English. So I'm just going to do that for my sanity, just like I do these talks, just like I do music. The top of my needs list should be music and creativity, but that's like a given, and that's why I didn't put it there. Like, it's such a given that I didn't even put it on the list. And that's the one thing that is and will always be fulfilled so long as I'm not in shackles, because I'll always be creative until the day I die, because as long as I can do it, right? So, and that, like I say, could be reading, writing, or doing a talk, as well as making music, or editing a video, doing video work, etc. Any number of things. So that essay on Substack, again, I'll share that, and if anyone's interested, it's free. You can subscribe for free. I'm not charging for it, okay? So if you want to read it, you can read that. I also have another blog, by the way, which is still up and has the first essay sort of cataloged from 2023 onward, and some other things. That's the Blogspot page. I can even share the address for that, because one last thing I'll just quickly mention, music, very quickly. I did a 2-part retrospective compilation, which I talked about in an earlier talk, but I sort of revised the second part, and I did a write-up for every track in the first half. Eventually I do the second half. They're both on BandCamp, my BandCamp page, and the write-up is on that Blogspot page. And the second one, when I finish, will go on the Blogspot. I may put them on Substack eventually, but I want to focus on the Tokyo dystopia, long form, maybe book length, possibly essay first on Substack. That's why I created the page, so Blogspot for the other. That's my talk. It's 27 minutes now, and it's amazing I got through it without blowing my nose once, although it's, I can feel it, but that's good. So thanks for joining me. Those are my points for living, and leave your comments in the right below, and be sure to subscribe and like. I never say that. I'm not monetizing. I can't monetize. I don't have enough subscribers. I don't have enough likes. I don't have enough this. I don't have hours, this, that, the other. People watch my videos for like 1 minute or something. It doesn't count toward monetization unless you have like people watching hours and hours, or you pay for bots to fill in those hours, which I'm not going to do. So those of you who are genuine and sincere in your interest in the page and what I have to say, thank you very much. And I know like a few of you have reached out to me either on the page, or even like occasionally I've gotten like through my website, where someone's sent me a message or something, and if we've connected, that's cool, because like it's pretty rare, and I don't kind of connect with just anyone or everyone, because I've there, if it's genuine, then I'll connect with you. And I always appreciate comments and things like that, your experiences or your thoughts. So thanks very much. Marc Lowe in Tokyo, year number 6, surviving in dystopia. Thanks. Hope you're surviving the dystopia too. Happy King's Day 2.0, America. Japan hasn't supported that because our next PM supports Trump. That's another talk for another time, or maybe I'll write about that in the essay as it happens. See you next time. Thanks.